Stadium Seats special show tonight. As you guys all know, the news, the tragic news of Kobe Bryant, who passed away yesterday on January 26, 2020. He was 41 years old, and he definitely lived a great life. He was a great NBA player, an all-time great. Everybody in the world was just saddened and shocked. And this passing kind of shook the world apart more than any other passing, which was very surprising to me. And the amount of energy that this man brought to people and motivation. So Stadium Seats tonight is going to dedicate a show to Kobe Bryant, number 24, and also number 8 of the NBA of the LA Lakers. And Frizz, Gemz, and Tay here tonight. We're gonna tell you our thoughts tonight. So without further ado, how's everybody doing?
It's going good. I mean, it was very sad to hear the news. It was shocking, just the way I heard it. My son, who is 24 years old, he is a huge Kobe fan. He was growing up. He was the first one to text me, and I swear, not even 30 seconds after he texted me, my brother called to tell me also that Kobe had died. And I'm thinking, like, Kobe, like, never in a million, it did not cross my mind that it was Kobe Bryant, like the Kobe Bryant. I'm like, Kobe who? Like, who do we know that's named Kobe? Like a friend or something like that. It wasn't until reports started coming through the phone, and it's just shocking. It was just, it was hard to grasp, hard to comprehend how and why. It's still a shock.
Absolutely. Gemz, you're there with us. What's going on with your thoughts and your feelings?
Well, first of all, uh, this is very unfortunate. And, this isn't really a basketball story. This is a story of families that's been shattered. And people across the world hearing about this was devastated. First off, I just want to send out my condolences to all the families, that were affected. There were 9 victims, and 3 of them were children. So again, this isn't a basketball story. This was a tragic, unfortunate situation that, maybe we could all learn something from this somehow.
Yeah.
But speaking of Kobe Bryant, really isn't nothing negative to say about the guy. Everybody wants to be successful in life, and but there are roadblocks and problems.
Mm-hmm.
We all ask ourselves, do we really understand the definition of a problem? The definition of a problem is the gap between where you are now and where you want to be, and how do you close that gap? And with Kobe Bryant, his accolades, his stats, he was a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP. He was an NBA Most Valuable Player, 18 times NBA All-Star, 4 times NBA All-Star Game MVP, 11-time All NBA First Team, 2-time All Second Team, and 2-time All NBA Third Team. So when you look at those accolades, right, you say to yourself, how did Kobe accomplish those accolades? So Kobe Bryant, to me, and my thoughts, Frizz and Tay, was the individual who expressed hard work.
Absolutely.
His work ethic was unlimited.
Yes.
It was impeccable. He showed persistence and he showed consistency. He worked on his craft and trained like no other. He mapped out the blueprint for all of the NBA guys of where they want to be like when they train. And they're feeding off of and they're looking at Kobe Bryant's training blueprint. Kobe, he sacrificed himself and his body to be the best ever or to be named amongst the greats. And when it comes to the game of basketball, that's legendary.
Mm-hmm.
When you do that. When he came out of high school, there were interviews that they were showing, and he expressed that he was going to be the best player ever. And I tell you what, people were looking at him like he was nuts.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you what, he wasn't far off. He's like a Jordan-like or Jordan-ish type of player, right? Whose star power was unlimited. And when we talk about star power, Frizz and Tay, it's like, look how he impacted not just the NBA, but look how his presence and his swag and what he stood for impacted other countries globally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When you talk about Europe, when you talk about Asia, when you talk about Africa, when you mention Kobe Bryant, people know what he stood for. He was a very intelligent thinker. He spoke 3 to 4 languages. Also, when you mention Kobe, they knew about the Mamba mentality. And I just wanted to get into that for a little bit. So just stop me if I'm rambling on, but I just got to get some things off my chest.
Go
Thoughts
ahead.
about Kobe. Because I was a basketball guy. And there's a lot of things that I tried to take and incorporate. And when I was playing basketball, and even what I do now on a day-to-day basis when I go to work. So that Mamba mentality, that really meant a lot to people. That just wasn't a nickname. Like, he really lived by that. And the Mamba mentality is just the winning way. Kobe's willpower alone would wear down his competitors when he was on the basketball court. And he always expected people who had a lot to give a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Just I was, you guys probably seen the reports, but there were a couple players that they were interviewing on ESPN, and they were talking about, give a Kobe story. And one of the Kobe stories was, players would come in and they would see Kobe before the game going 100% full tilt, getting his shots up, doing drills. And they're looking at Kobe like, oh, he's not even going to, get through the game. And then 90% of the time, Kobe would just assassinate his competition on the court that day. And at the end of the day, Kobe just wanted you to know you would not outwork him. So that was his blueprint. That was like the Mamba mentality. So I know I'm blabbering on, but this is what I took from Kobe over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
And this is my thoughts about Kobe. That, the last 20 years, now moving forward, not just me, but those people that are listeners that want to be the best, that want to close that gap between where they are now and where they want to be, whether on a job or as a father figure, as a mother, as a son, as a friend, that mentality of outworking someone and trying to be the best that you can be. That was Kobe Bryant. That's the Mamba mentality there.
That is one of the things that I did want to point out about him, that I am not a huge basketball fan. My knowledge in basketball is very limited, but I do know that he was a great basketball player. But outside the basketball realm, he inspired a lot of people outside of the basketball sport to become what they to maximize their work ethic, to be where they want to be, like you just explained, the Mamba mentality. So he was not just great in basketball, he inspired so many people to do great things outside of basketball. And I think that's something that should be applauded for. And he was great at it. He inspired so many people to be good at baseball, throughout social media and on TV and radio and anywhere you turn to right now. Everybody has stories about how he inspired somebody at work, somebody, as a mother, as a father, as a friend, as a business owner. it's just limitless. His inspiration is going to, and I think his inspiration is going to continue to live on. And so even though he's tragically gone, that is one of the things that we will be left behind from him.
One thing, but I agree 100%. And one thing about Kobe that I observed over the years is that he loved challenges, and he loved to, you know, overcome the obstacle and overcome the challenge. I mean, look what he did after
Mm-hmm.
he retired. He started writing
Mm-hmm.
children's books, and there were bestsellers. And then, did he win an
Yeah.
Oscar?
Mm-hmm.
He won an Oscar. So there was challenges, and there was things that he wanted to accomplish. And what he was doing was, he said, okay, I was one of the greats in the NBA, and now I'm going to be one of the greats in
And I
entrepreneurship.
think that was him trying
And
to embrace fully, not that he wasn't engaged, but to embrace fully his role as a father, you know, to reach his kids at
absolutely.
that children level, you know what I mean? To get into their same mindset.
Mhm.
And that's something to be applauded also.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think that he was
He was.
a great man, great player, great father, good role model for young children. Um, let's touch upon some of the positive things here in his playing career. If we can remember, I remember. Um, I don't know how many points he scored that night, honestly, but the night he tore his Achilles tendon, um, you know, and
Mm,
I don't think they were that year. I don't think they were doing very well, and I remember him getting hurt and then still taking a free throw. Correct me if I'm wrong. And then walking off
absolutely. I
on his own
remember. Go
power,
ahead.
because of that strong dedication and that will that he had. And that just kind of, wow, that just kind of wows you
Mhm.
because, I've never torn my Achilles, but I know it's pretty tough. And
Yeah.
they, they say it feels like a gunshot.
And to continue forward and continue playing with his intensity, it's something you don't see.
Yeah. So what was one of your big memories from Kobe during a game, Gemz?
You know what? I would say that the 2009 2010 championship, um, with Kobe Bryant, he was leading the way. And it just wasn't about his play, it was about his will to win. Um, because let's take a couple steps back. He's, a 5-time NBA champion. And with that being said, he had Shaq.
Hmm.
And I know that he's won multiple championships with Shaquille O'Neal. And they did have a little falling out, little power struggle. Who was the man? Who was gonna, the offense? Who was it gonna be ran through? Was it Kobe or Shaq? So they traded Shaq, and I just know how important those championships were to Kobe being Bryant in 2009 and 2010 because Shaq was not present at all. And and this is what I'm talking about, challenges that Kobe always wanted to overcome. People said before, you can't win a championship without Shaq. Well, Kobe says, I'm going to show you that I can do it without Shaq. So they traded Shaq. And no one ever thought that Kobe would win another championship because they thought
Hmm.
like that was that time. Sometimes teams have a special moment across a time frame, and they win championships. And sometimes teams never get that back. But Kobe always had a way. Again, his willpower, his work ethic, and him being a leader, a great catalyst on a team. I know he shot a
Oh yeah.
lot. He did. But by him doing that always made I thought other teammates better in a way where, everybody has to play their role. And when he won those two championships, that was a moment for me that I was just like, you know what? That's great that he proved all the naysayers wrong and all the people that thought that he couldn't win a championship without Shaq. So I was very happy for Kobe during those years of 2009, 2010. I always been a Kobe fan. Like my favorite player of all time is Michael Jordan. But when Michael Jordan was in the transition of retirement and exiting the NBA, there was Kobe Bryant. He came, and then we got to see Kobe when he was 18, coming out of Lower Merion High School and
Right.
becoming a phenomenon for 20 years. So it was just a great sight to see. But other just than basketball, I mean, the guy was a great husband. He was a great father figure. He was very involved with his children. And Tay and Frizz, I want to get your opinion about something really quick. How about when they kept showing the clips of Kobe and his daughter at the game, and he was teaching her the game of basketball at that NBA game when they was sitting courtside? That just did something to me.
They had
a
relationship, very, very close relationship, and I know he was very close to all of his children and his wife, but it seemed like he had a special bond with Gianna. I read several reports, and she's the only one that had taken a big interest in basketball. So I think that might have brought them a little bit closer together. I'm not trying to say that he wasn't close to his other children, but there are a lot more pictures with him and Gianna, at courtside in different basketball games, and him giving her pointers, trying to coach her. And, she was very receptive, at least in the videos and pictures that I've seen. She looks like she held his advice very near and dear.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tay, what was your favorite memory? I know you're not big basketball, but Kobe Bryant is.
Yeah, of course.
What was your big memory?
Well, I think my biggest memory of him, my favorite memory of him, is his last game when he was exiting the NBA and he had the high scoring. I believe it was like 60 points that night.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
against Utah.
That was huge in itself.
You know what's real cool that you just mentioned that, and Gemz and Tay, that I was watching ESPN earlier today, and I didn't know that Gordon Hayward, when he was at the line and he had 59 points, stepped into the lane for a violation just in case he would miss that, so he can hit that 60 points.
That's awesome.
Is, man. That's
respect.
That just shows
right
the amount of respect that man had. And any sport that you play or any team you're a part of, you're part of like a brotherhood. Whether it's the NBA and NFL or anything like that, major leagues. Even high school teams.
Absolutely, any team sport.
You're part of a family, so you're competitive, but you're part of a family. So that is pretty cool. The 60-point game, Tay. I definitely agree with that. And he did put up 81 in his career.
Yeah.
Yes.
Toronto on Jalen Rose.
That's pretty phenomenal if you ask me. So,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know what, Frizz? Can I say something really fast? And I don't want to sound long with it, and I'll conclude on this because it's been a tough 2 days for the world, right? I mean, it's just what happened, and I mentioned before that this story is a story that shattered families, right? And that's very unfortunate. But for all the fans that listen, like, what can we learn? How can we learn from this? Like, what are we getting out of this situation? Besides talking about Kobe Bryant, what are we learning out of this? And just for all the fans out there, I just want to ask everybody, Frizz, Tay, myself, friends out there, all of our fans that support Stadium Seats, I just want to ask everybody that if you have any issues with anyone, a friend, loved one, brother, sister, whatever, reach out to them and fix it. Extend the olive branch and reach out to them. Because at the end of the day, it's not really that serious. Because as you can see what just happened, life isn't guaranteed at all. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. That you can see somebody and have an issue or have a disagreement, knowing that it could be fixed, and then something happens. So I really took that really, stayed with me, and as for parents out there, I'm a parent. Tay, you're a parent. I tell you
Yeah.
what,
Hug your kids
hug your
just a
kids
little
10
bit
times
longer.
more. Yeah, yeah. Say I love you to your kids
Yeah, to your
30 or 40
husbands,
times
wives,
more a day.
significant others.
Have
Yeah,
that
I think the
mama man.
world just needs more of that as it is. You definitely
Absolutely.
gotta, stop taking things for granted and realize, hey, any given day, and I mean it happens every single day. Family members and people not of Kobe Bryant's stature
Yeah.
pass away every single day. Other athletes, it just so happens to be that this one
Right.
was kind of the
Right.
most shocking that I can ever remember. I mean, we have NFL grades going every day because they're getting older. We have guys passing away in car crashes and stuff like this, and
Hmm.
this shook up the sports world. And you
It did.
know,
It did because he was so well known by so many people on different levels, whether you saw him in a basketball game or, whether you played with, your kids played with their kids. He was just very well known across the world. So that's why it shook up everybody. But like Gems, you mentioned it, and Frizz, you mentioned it right now. There was other lives that was lost, and a loss is a loss, and a loss hurts. A loss
absolutely.
really hurts. So just
Right. Well, I'll conclude this. I'm sorry,
go
Tay, but
ahead.
I'm just gonna shut up. I'm gonna conclude this. I'll give you my final thoughts, Frizz and Tay. That so at the end of the day here, we talked about the
Mm-hmm.
Mamba mentality, right? We talked about that. And, I know Frizz and Tay, we do this podcast for fun, you know, but I challenge I challenge you, I challenge Tay, and I challenge myself for us to go on and have this Mamba mentality here, for us to be great at doing this. We got a lot of fans that's tuning in with downloads and streams, whatever you want to call it, because we're giving them something. And I think that we need to push it to the next level, for the fans, and just want to leave with a
Mm-hmm.
Kobe quote, because that's my man, So Kobe's quote, he said one time, he said, we can always kind of be average and just do what's normal, but I'm not in this to do what's normal. And for the youth, that's, the younger people that's out there listening to the show, and hopefully you guys tune in the stadium seats, with Frizz, Gemz, and Tay. Hopefully that, you learn something from the Mamba mentality. From grade school, you're in class, have that Mamba mentality. You know, those that are in corporate, that's going to work every day, show your coworkers that you got that Mamba mentality. Show the bosses, show your teachers in the classroom that a B just isn't good enough for you. It's the A. A 3.5 just isn't good enough. You still got that 0.5. So just wanted to end with that, and rest in peace to Kobe Bean Bryant, his daughter Gianna, and the seven other victims in the pilot, that was on
Absolutely.
that on that in
Yeah,
that
Thoughts and
helicopter.
prayers
thoughts and prayers to
for
everybody.
all the
It's,
family
it's, it's a tough
members.
situation.
So we'll wrap it up here. Stadium seats with Frizz, Gems, and Tay. You could hit us up at Seat Stadium on our Twitter. Definitely a little bit of a different vibe from us. We come with energy, but we felt that we had to do a special show tonight. But don't worry, fans, because on Wednesday night, we're about to bring the fire for our Super Bowl preview show. Make sure you tune into that as well. Follow us on Spotify, iHeart,
YouTube.
YouTube, Cast FM, everything. We're on it all. Apple Podcast. Download it, listen, like us on Twitter at Seat Stadium. Kobe B. Bryant, rest in peace.
Rest in peace.
41 years old. Real
Peace.
quick before we end, remember when you're shooting something into the trash can, always yell, Kobe! Stadium Seats, Frizz, Gemz, Tech. We're out.